Fricking finally, it's time for Blonde Kirito versus the Captain Commander Bercouli. So what's up guys, Foxen here. But hold up, nope, screw that. It's Eugeo versus the top Knight Commander Bercouli. Meanwhile, off somewhere, dinner time for the two lovebirds Kirito and Alice. By the way, if you do enjoy these weekly SAO videos, smash that thumbs up and subscribe. It'll help a lot and also help other SAO fans find these SAO videos. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Bercouli Synthesis 1 is here. Like I mentioned in the past, I was really just wondering from the start of SAO Alicization, would they do Bercouli some justice? For this guy, right from the start, you have him using the Underworld force to get his time-piercing sword. So nice of Eugeo to give him some time to dress up. Although I'm sure the ladies wouldn't mind, just seeing Bercouli butt naked, and some of the guys would have liked that too. I do like Bercouli asking about Funimation right here. Aw, gotta make sure his second in command is alive. It turns out she is. Awesome. And to be honest, Bercouli really went much too easy on Eugeo after that confirmation. Otherwise, I could have seen Eugeo's head fly off. As for Bercouli himself, this guy is such a seasoned warrior. I was just freaking loving his subtle crap talk to Eugeo. This guy is so confident, and great reason to be. And about the Alice stuff that Bercouli mentioned, he claims that he's not sure who would come out on top in a serious fight between him and Alice. To be honest, this really sounds like he's being really modest. I could really picture it being a very tough fight, especially with him seeing Alice almost like a daughter or niece. But let's be real, the Captain Knight Commander would come out on top. Sorry Alice. Anyway, getting into the main fight, Eugeo versus the Knight Commander. I like how Eugeo really just wanted to start off with his trusty SAO skills. Right here, Bercouli brought up something really important about Eugeo using continuous attacks. Interestingly, this is something that even the top Knight Commander doesn't excel at. Also some very nice foreshadowing about the Dark Territory commanders being able to use this advanced swordsmanship. Cannot wait. Anyway, getting into Bercouli's onslaught. My god, just the power of this dude. Busting the freaking ground with a step forward. Oops, sorry, my bad. Almost killed you in one hit. Again, very fortunate for Eugeo that Bercouli was beyond holding back. If he really wanted to, he could have turned Eugeo into hamburger meat a few hundred times. As for Bercouli's time-piercing sword origins, oh yes, Knight Commander, please explain your power in extreme detail. Be sure to include any weaknesses too. Don't worry, I'll wait. That'll give me some extra time to heal up. Again, just going back to how confident this guy was. I mean, freaking Bercouli even put his sword away. Then again, I can't blame this dude. At this point, this 300-year-plus guy has a very good reason to be overconfident. Anyway, getting into the time-piercing sword's power. This thing is literally made from the freaking system clock in the Underworld. How crazy is that? I mean, just oversimplifying it, Bercouli can slice into the future. This once again emphasizes the Underworld focus on using one-hit moves. Bercouli is a perfect example. Rather than learning this stuff himself, he simply chose to make his one-hit move that much more accurate and deadly. By the way, I did like how Bercouli was continuously giving Alice and Funimation compliments, even during this time mid-fight. Oh yeah, little Alice will surpass me one day. It's very clear that he never saw Eugeo as any sort of threat. I also gotta point out that this guy was of course not wearing any sort of armor. Unfortunately, was that a bad move for Bercouli? You got Eugeo for the win borrowing a page from frickin' Kirito. Oh yes, Eugeo's really learning to be a lot more sneaky in battle. Gotta take advantage of every single thing. By the way, right here for Eugeo pushing down Bercouli, non-mentioned in the anime was that this was actually an SAO martial arts skill. This really just helped Eugeo get that extra push he needed to push the big guy down. And then, perhaps Eugeo learned a little too well from Kirito. It was Bankai time. You had Eugeo getting very close to do that suicidal move. Just think back to the last time that Funimation used that released recollection. This time it was Eugeo's Bankai unleashed. Makes you think what Kirito's Bankai is. As for Bercouli here, still being chill and as confident as ever. I mean, you had Bercouli freaking trying to All Might his way out of that ice. No problem guys, I still have my muscles. Although, better not count out Eugeo yet. This episode now revealed the truth about his Blue Rose sword. This thing is actually a combination of ice and the original flower. In other words, this thing possesses two powers, unlike Kirito's sword. While you got the ice doing the obvious freezing, you got the icy sword that absorbs life. In the anime, this really just made such a beautiful sight. And to give even more credit to Eugeo, let me actually go into his plan. It turns out that it wasn't completely suicidal, but a calculated gamble. Something mentioned from the beginning in the novels was how Underworld citizens have their maximum life increasing until they get about 25 or so. After that age, they peak. From then on, your maximum life starts going down as you age. Eventually, you reach the permanent logout stage at around 70 or 80. Now look over at Bercouli. Physically, this guy was frozen around age 40, which is when he became an Integrity Knight. This really just boils down to Eugeo having this higher maximum default HP or life. This now goes back to Eugeo's plan, which he was hoping to trap both of them and slowly win by default, just due to his higher life difference. So really almost by chance, Eugeo turned out to be the best one suited to fight this top Knight Commander, not only due to his store's abilities, but due to his connection to Bercouli. So this episode really got back to Eugeo bringing up the legendary hero who founded his village. It almost seems like Eugeo really admired that hero since he was crushed by it. Eugeo already wasn't a fan of these Integrity Knights, and that hatred really just doubled with Bercouli. By the way, about the dragon that was killed, this was actually something that was brought up earlier, but really just glanced over in the anime. The Human Empire originally started with 4 Great Dragon Protectors, but for whatever reason, Quinella couldn't control them, which is why she had her knights take them out. I guess that's really her policy, just kill what won't submit to you. As for Bercouli and Eugeo turning into ice cream over here, right here, Bercouli admitted something important. He always thought there was something off about him being summoned as this divine hero from the heavens. Hell, he never thought of himself as being something that great to begin with. It actually turns out that over the centuries, Quinella actually had to reset him a couple of times, which was after Bercouli started questioning how things were. After a couple of times, Bercouli learned his lesson and just stayed quiet about it. Anyway, with this episode, you also have the official debut of Quinella's pet clown. Say hello to Discount Pennywise, Chodokin. You can see this guy's ugly, pale face with a hat similar to Cardinal's. Honestly, I picture this guy looking a lot more plump and definitely a lot bigger. Something almost borderline Snorlax shaped. Either way, get ready to not be a fan of this guy. But who am I kidding? No one likes clowns. Right here, funny how you got the clown accusing Bercouli of treason. I don't know about that, Mr. Clown, but he's not too wrong. Like I've been mentioning, Bercouli was definitely going super easy on Eugeo. This clown also mentioned the other side of Bercouli's sword. Let me actually explain what he means. Bercouli's time-piercing sword can slice vertically in time, which also means that he could slice into the past. That's right. Like I said, Eugeo could have been turned into freaking barbecue meat if the Knight Commander really wanted to. But oh no, this clown just made Bercouli hard, more frozen than Eugeo had already done. So yes, Quinella's right-hand man clown is actually able to freeze all the knights, the top knight included. And unfortunately, you could just imagine what the clown has for the poor blonde boy Eugeo. By the way, last time I did mention that Bercouli reminded me of a certain Bleach captain. A lot of you guessed Kenpachi or the Captain Commander, but I was actually thinking something more like the laid-back kimono captain. To be fair, this guy's thick body in the anime did remind me of Kenpachi, or even the Captain Commander from season 1, although personality, way different. Anyway, switching it up, back to Alice and Kirito outside. We got Kirito suddenly sensing a disturbance in the Underworld force. Quiet Alice, I got a different blonde in mind. So what is going on with Kirito's better half? After that intense Eugeo vs Bercouli scene, gotta love the fun moments this episode. Something I really loved was Alice being this hungry tsundere girl. Someone give this girl a Snickers before she slices off Kirito's Excalibur. As for Kirito here, back to being the classic Kirito. I'm really glad to see that this guy sneaked out even more food from Cardinal's place. By the way, why aren't those things pancaked? Either way, now you're back to Kirito freaking healing the enemy again. Great job right there. As for Alice here, great to see she's good at steaming up Kirito's buns. Alice actually makes for a really good Underworld microwave. Anyway, getting into Kirito's slip up here, accidentally mentioning Selka. Alice's poor sister must really be missing her knight sister. You even briefly got a chance to see Alice recalling Selka. So poor Alice has actually been constantly recalling her sister Selka in her dreams. The sad part about it is that she has no idea who this girl is. So, time for Alice vs Kirito round 2. Can Kirito win over Alice? By the way, about Kirito and Alice, I do have to mention this. For anyone that actually is worried about Kirito falling for Alice, which I saw a ton from the previous video. For starters, where have you been? I mean, it's been like 70 episodes plus a movie. Either way, I could just confirm that Kirito has and has only ever loved Asuna. That has always been the reality in the anime. If you want to make up your own story about him falling for some other girl, that's just your imagination. Anyway, getting into the light novel changes to the anime. Overall, another amazingly adapted anime episode, which really makes me wish even more that they spend more time with an extra episode or 2 on the earlier stuff. So first off with the Eugeo vs Bercouli scene. At the start, you had Eugeo's thoughts on Bercouli. Eugeo thought that he gave off the super confident swordsman presence, which really reminded him of Kirito. And the only other thing worth mentioning is that they actually cut out Bercouli going into detail about Alice. Right here, he clarified that Alice was only an apprentice knight. The church generally doesn't make apprentices into knights. However, Alice became Alice Synthesis 30th in the last year. Apparently, Bercouli thought that Alice had been more than qualified. The only problem was that she was way too young. Right here, Bercouli also brought up the exception of Fizzle and Lino, but I already went into detail about them a few episodes ago. Next up, the Kirito and Alice scene. From the anime, they actually cut out a good chunk from the start. So before getting into the Eugeo and food topic, you had Kirito thinking back to his SAO days, including his beloved Asuna. He thought back to how the only time he was able to express his inner weakness was to Asuna back in SAO. As for Eugeo, Kirito thought about how Eugeo possessed much more ability than himself in the Underworld. Kirito compared himself to being the silicon CPU, to Eugeo being the latest diamond equivalent. And then for Alice sitting right next to him, Kirito thought about how Alice would definitely be someone who would argue constantly with the other girls like Shinan or Liz, if they ever met. By the way, really quickly, here's something important about next week. It is confirmed to be a recap episode. The fact that they're announcing it now means that they had this recap episode planned. I know some people are gonna rage since they don't know what's going on, but I'm actually super glad that they're doing this recap episode. In case you're fairly new to anime, in short, a recap episode is not for the viewer but for the studio. It really just gives them an extra week to catch up. For animation, that is a lot of valuable time. I'm really hoping they spend it very wisely, especially for the mid-arc finale. They need to do everything right for a lot of the Quinella fight coming up. Either way, don't worry. I'm going to be releasing an SAO video that I've been wanting to do for a while next week. If there's certain SAO topics you want me to cover, post it down below. Anyway, more important, let me hear from you. Question of the day. How much did you freaking love Bercouli versus Eugeo? Especially with this being Eugeo's time to shine. In general, how much do you love Bercouli's character? Where do you rank this fight so far? And does anyone honestly really think that Kirito would fall for Alice? But anyway, if you enjoy my weekly SAO videos, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. Recap episode is next week, so I'm going to have an SAO video in its place. Go ahead and post down below any SAO related topics you want me to cover. But don't forget, check out the new Konosuba Seiko trailer and my Shield Hero videos, and I'll see you guys later.